The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from 47 civilizations gathered for an emergency session. The massive hall stretched for kilometers, filled with beings of every imaginable shape and size. Ambassador Jiwoo of Earth stood at the human platform, her simple dark uniform looking plain compared to the elaborate armor and ceremonial robes worn by others. Her colleague Taehyun stood beside her, quietly reviewing tactical data on his device. "Another Kroth attack," announced Vextar, the Reptilian Council leader, his voice shaking with anger. "They destroyed the Helion colony. 12 million dead. We cannot wait any longer. We must strike back with everything we have." The chamber erupted in agreement. The insectoid chitin delegates clicked their mandibles eagerly. The massive Kryn warriors slammed their armored fists on their platforms, creating thunderous booms that echoed through the hall. Jiwoo activated her speaking device. "Honored council members, Earth believes we should try diplomatic solutions first. Economic sanctions, trade restrictions, combined with strong defensive positions. We can pressure the Kroth without." Harsh laughter cut her off. Commander Jathik of the Vrex stood up, his scales gleaming under the bright lights. He was a veteran of 30 wars, decorated and respected across the galaxy. "The humans want to talk?" he said mockingly. "Perhaps you plan to negotiate the Kroth to death? Or maybe sign a treaty while they burn more worlds?" Laughter spread through the chamber. Even species friendly to humanity looked embarrassed for them. "Your people have barely been in space for 200 years, Jathik continued, his voice dripping with contempt. "You know nothing of real warfare. You have fought no galactic conflicts. You hide behind your little planetary defense force and think you understand war." The Chitin Queen's translator spoke up. "The humans organized something called the United Nations to prevent wars on their own planet." "How charming. They are like children playing at peace." More laughter. Jiwoo felt her face grow hot, but she kept her expression calm. "Commander, we understand war better than you think," she said carefully. "That is exactly why we recommend." "Silence," Vextar commanded. "The time for human naivety has passed. The Council will vote for immediate military action against the Kroth Dominion." Jiwoo tried again. "Please, you must understand what you're starting. Once this type of war begins, humanity will be assigned to rear supply line protection," Vextar announced, ignoring her completely. "You will guard transport routes in safe sectors. This should suit your peaceful nature." The vote passed with overwhelming support. Only 3 minor species abstained. Not a single delegation voted against military action. As the session ended, delegates filed out, many still chuckling about the humans' weakness. A Kryn warrior passed by Jiwoo's platform and shook his massive head. "War is not for the gentle-hearted human. Perhaps your kind should return to your little planet and leave galactic matters to warriors." Jiwoo sat down slowly after the chamber emptied. Her hands were shaking slightly but not from fear or embarrassment. Taehyun noticed and placed a hand on her shoulder. "They have no idea," he said quietly. "No," Jiwoo agreed, staring at the empty chamber. "They really don't. Should we tell them? About Earth's history? About what we're capable of?" Jiwoo shook her head. "They wouldn't believe us. They think because we advocate for peace we're weak. They don't understand that we know exactly what war looks like. We've seen it up close, studied it, perfected it, and learned to fear it." "The Council just authorized full military deployment," Taehyun noted, checking his device. "They don't even know what that means for us." "Then they're about to learn," Jiwoo said, standing up. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command. Tell General Huan to prepare the fleets." "All of them?" "All of them," Jiwoo confirmed. "The galaxy wanted warriors. Let's show them what real war looks like." 3 months had passed since the war began, and the Galactic Coalition was losing badly. Deep beneath the city of Geneva on Earth, Jiwoo stood in the Strategic Command Center, watching holographic displays show red markers spreading across the galaxy. Each red marker represented a lost battle, a destroyed fleet, or a fallen colony. General Huan entered the room, his gray hair and weathered face showing the weight of decades in military service. He carried a data tablet with the latest reports from the front lines. "Ambassador, the new casualty numbers just came in," he said, handing her the device. Jiwoo scrolled through the information, her expression growing darker with each line. "The Vrex lost their entire 7th Fleet at Kalaris. 300 ships just gone. And the Kryn homeworld is surrounded. The Kroth have them trapped. They're fighting like it's some kind of honor contest," Huan said, pulling up battle recordings. "Look at this. The Vrex form neat lines and wait for the enemy to form lines too. They announce their attacks before they strike. They give the Kroth time to prepare defenses. And the Kroth ignore all the rules. They ambush. They attack supply lines. They target civilian infrastructure to break morale. They use every dirty trick available, and the coalition doesn't know how to respond. Jiwoo watched footage of a recent battle. The proud Kryn warriors charged forward in organized waves, their shields raised, their war cries transmitted across all channels. The Kroth simply waited until the Kryn were close, then detonated hidden mines and attacked from 3 sides at once. It was a massacre. The Coalition Council sent another message, she said, opening the new communication. They're requesting assistance. They want us to send whatever ships we can spare to reinforce the defensive line. Juan raised an eyebrow. Whatever we can spare. They're expecting what, maybe 5 or 6 ships? Probably, Jiwoo agreed. They still think we're a minor species with a small planetary defense force. Should we show them the truth? Jiwoo pulled up Earth's military readiness assessment. The numbers filled the screen. 73 full battle groups. Each battle group contained carriers, destroyers, support vessels, marine deployment ships, and specialized craft the galaxy had never seen before. Stealth ships. Electronic warfare vessels. Submarines adapted for space combat. Before we commit our forces, we need clarification, Juan said, already composing a response message. Are we bound by the coalition warfare conventions? The warfare conventions were ancient galactic rules about how wars should be fought. Honor before battle. No attacks on medical ships. No orbital bombardment of civilian areas. Formal challenges before engagement. The galaxy had followed these rules for thousands of years. Ask them, Jiwoo said. Let's see what they say. Juan sent the message, Earth forces prepared to deploy. Request clarification on rules of engagement. Are we operating under coalition warfare conventions, or are we authorized for unrestricted warfare protocols? The response came back within 2 hours. Vextar himself had written it. Full authorization granted for all human forces. Deploy everything available. The Kroth do not follow the conventions, so neither shall we. Use whatever methods necessary to stop them. Juan read the message twice. They just gave us carte blanche. They don't even understand what they're authorizing. Jiwoo sat down heavily. They think unrestricted warfare just means we can be a bit more aggressive. They have no concept of what that phrase means to humans. Should we explain? No. They wouldn't understand until they see it. Jiwoo pulled up images from Earth's history archives. World War II. Vietnam. The Gulf War. Conflicts that had shaped human military doctrine for centuries. We spent 2,000 years perfecting the art of warfare. Then we spent another 200 years learning how to restrain ourselves because we became too good at it. The galaxy thinks we're pacifists, Juan said quietly. We are pacifists, Jiwoo corrected. Because we know exactly what happens when we're not. We've seen our own cities burn. We've counted our own dead in the millions. We learned to fear war because we're so terrifyingly efficient at it. So what do we tell the Council? Jiwoo stood up, her decision made. Tell them the Terran Expeditionary Fleet will deploy within 1 week. All 73 battle groups. And God have mercy on the Kroth because we won't. The Keldris system had become a Kroth fortress. Their massive battle station orbited the 4th planet, surrounded by defensive platforms and patrol ships. The coalition had tried to retake it twice and failed both times, losing hundreds of ships and thousands of warriors. Commander Jathik watched from his observation ship as the human fleet arrived. He expected perhaps a dozen vessels, small and outdated. What emerged from faster-than-light travel made his scales bristle with shock. 73 battle groups materialized in perfect formation. Hundreds of ships of designs he had never seen before. Sleek carriers. Angular destroyers. Strange cylinder-shaped vessels the humans called space submarines. And countless smaller craft that seemed built for purposes he couldn't identify. What is this? He whispered. The human Admiral Sungmin's face appeared on the communication screen. He was a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a calm expression that somehow seemed more dangerous than any war cry. Commander Jathik, Terran Expeditionary Fleet reporting for duty. We're ready to begin operations. Begin operations? You just arrived. Don't you need time to prepare? To scout the enemy positions? To plan your attack? Sungmin smiled slightly. We've been planning for 6 days, Commander. Our intelligence teams have already infiltrated their communication networks. We know their shift schedules, supply routes, commander names, and weapon placements. We're ready. That's impossible. The Kroth change their codes daily. They do. We break them hourly. Before Jothic could respond, the human fleet began moving. But not toward the Kroth station. Instead, they scattered in what looked like complete chaos. Admiral, your formation is breaking apart. No, Commander. We're deploying. Sungmin's image disappeared. For 2 full days nothing happened. The human ships seemed to simply hover in space, waiting. The Kroth forces remained on high alert, expecting an attack that never came. Jothic grew increasingly confused and frustrated. Then, on the 3rd day, everything changed. It started so subtly that the Kroth didn't notice at first. Their long-range sensors went offline. Then their backup sensors. Their communication arrays began transmitting garbage data. Ships reported seeing phantom contacts that disappeared when investigated. What are the humans doing? Jothic demanded. His sensor officer looked terrified. Sir, I don't know. The Kroth defense network is just falling apart. Their sensors are blind. Their ships can't communicate with each other. It's like someone is dismantling their entire infrastructure piece by piece. Then the real attack began. Human stealth ships, invisible to Kroth sensors, appeared next to supply convoys and disabled them without firing a shot. Electronic warfare teams hijacked Kroth computer systems and locked their weapons. Marines in advanced armor boarded disabled vessels, not to fight honorably, but to extract data and capture officers for interrogation. The Kroth battle station never saw the attack coming. Human submarines approached from an unexpected angle, using the planet's magnetic field to mask their presence. They fired specialized missiles that didn't explode but instead released swarms of tiny machines that ate through the station's hull like metal-consuming insects. When the Kroth tried to evacuate, they found their escape routes blocked. When they tried to fight, their weapons wouldn't fire. When they tried to call for help, their messages went nowhere. Within 48 hours, the Keldra system belonged to humanity. Jothic stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. The Kroth fortress that had resisted coalition forces for months had fallen in 2 days. And the humans had lost only 3 ships. This isn't war, he said quietly. This is extermination. Admiral Sungmin's face reappeared on the screen. No, Commander. This is what we call a limited engagement. We're following strict rules of engagement. No civilian casualties. No unnecessary destruction. No torture of prisoners. We're being restrained. Restrained? You destroyed an entire Kroth battle station in 48 hours. Yes. Restrained. Sungmin's expression grew cold. You've never seen us when we truly hate an enemy, Commander. You've never seen us when we remove all restrictions. What we just did. This is us being careful. This is us showing mercy. Then what are you like when you're not showing mercy? Sungmin was quiet for a long moment. You don't want to know. Trust me. You really don't want to know. Be grateful the Kroth are just an enemy. Not someone we actually hate. The screen went dark, leaving Jothic alone with his thoughts and a growing sense of fear about what humanity truly was. The war continued for 3 more months, and the galaxy watched humanity with growing unease. A Kryn warrior named Hyuk served alongside human marines during the liberation of the Talus colonies. What he witnessed there changed his understanding of warfare forever. He began sending reports back to the Kryn High Command, reports that soon circulated throughout the entire coalition. The first report detailed something simple but disturbing. During a planning session, the human commander used 12 different words to describe types of war. Asymmetric warfare. Psychological warfare. Economic warfare. Total war. Limited war. Guerrilla warfare. Each term described a completely different approach to combat. They have more words for war than we have for honor, Hyuk wrote. What kind of species needs so many ways to describe conflict? The second report was about human entertainment. During downtime, Hyuk watched what humans did for fun. They played games simulating historical battles. They read books about ancient wars. They watched films showing combat scenarios. Children's toys included model soldiers and strategy games. They study war the way we study art, his report stated. They recreate their own battles for entertainment. Their greatest heroes are military commanders from centuries past. War is woven into every part of their culture. The third report shook the coalition leadership. Hyuk discovered that humans had created weapons so terrible that they had banned themselves from using them. Chemical weapons that could kill millions. Biological agents that could wipe out entire planets. Nuclear devices that could crack worlds in half. They invented these weapons, Hyuk wrote in disbelief. They tested them. They know exactly how to use them. And then they made laws forbidding their use. Not because enemies forced them to stop. They stopped themselves. What kind of species creates ultimate weapons and then refuses to use them? During a joint operation, Hyuk asked his human squad leader, a woman named Mina, about this. Why do you have weapons you won't use? He asked. Mina was quiet for a moment, cleaning her rifle. Because we used them once. On ourselves. We saw what they did to our own people, our own cities. After that, we couldn't unsee it. Some weapons are too terrible even for war. But you still have them? We remember how to make them. We remember what they do. That memory keeps us careful. She looked at him directly. The galaxy thinks we're peaceful because we're weak. The truth is we're peaceful because we're terrified of what we can do when we're not. Back at Coalition headquarters, Ambassador Jiwoo stood before the council once again. The mockery was gone from their faces now, replaced by nervous respect and barely hidden fear. Ambassador, Vextar began carefully, your forces have been extraordinarily effective. Perhaps too effective. Some council members have expressed concern about your methods. Our methods follow all established rules of engagement, Jiwoo replied calmly. No civilian casualties. No torture. No banned weapons. We're fighting a clean war. Clean? The Chitin Queen's translator clicked rapidly. You infiltrate their systems. You turn their own technology against them. You strike from shadows. You manipulate their communications. This is not honorable combat. No, Jiwoo agreed. It's efficient combat. There's a difference. Jathik stood up, his earlier arrogance completely gone. Ambassador, when you asked about unrestricted warfare protocols, what did you mean? What were you asking permission to do? Jiwoo's expression grew dark. Things we hope we never have to do, Commander. Tactics we develop fighting ourselves. Methods we swore to only use in the most desperate circumstances. Such as false flag operations to turn enemy factions against each other. Propaganda so effective it can break an entire society's will to fight. Precision strikes on infrastructure that can collapse a civilization without killing a single person. Biological weapons that target specific genetic markers. AI viruses that can take control of entire fleets. The council chamber fell silent. We have all of these capabilities, Jiwoo continued quietly. We've used variations of them on each other throughout our history. We know exactly how effective they are because we've been on the receiving end. That's why we're so careful now. That's why we advocate for peace. Not because we can't fight, but because we know exactly what fighting costs. When you said unrestricted warfare, Vextar said slowly, you meant removing all these restraints. Yes. And you gave us full authorization without understanding what you were authorizing. Fortunately, we chose to interpret your order conservatively. The Chitin Queen leaned forward. And if you had interpreted it liberally? Jiwoo met her multifaceted eyes. The war would already be over. The Kroth would have surrendered within a week. But you would have feared us forever, and rightfully so. 6 months after humanity entered the war, the Kroth Emperor requested a meeting. Not with the Galactic Coalition. With humanity specifically. Ambassador Jiwoo sat across from Emperor Thaxmal in a neutral space station. The Kroth leader was massive, his armored body scarred from countless battles. He had ruled his empire for 40 years and never once retreated from conflict. Until now. You fight like no species I have ever encountered, Thaxmal said, his translator rendering his growls into flat words. My military advisors have analyzed every engagement. They say if this war continues we will lose. Not through honorable defeat. Through systematic dismantling of everything we have built. That's correct, Jiwoo replied simply. You don't fight for glory. You don't fight for honor. You fight to win and nothing else matters to you. Winning matters because losing costs lives. We learned long ago that honor doesn't keep soldiers alive. Efficiency does. Thaxmal was quiet for a long moment. We surrender. Not to the coalition. To humanity. We will accept whatever terms you offer. The peace treaty was signed 3 days later. The Kroth withdrew from all conquered territories. The war was over. The Galactic Council convened for the post-war session. The atmosphere was completely different from that first meeting 9 months ago. No one laughed. No one made jokes. Every species watched the human delegation with careful respect mixed with unmistakable fear. Commander Jathik approached Jiwoo before the session began. The proud Vrex warrior looked humbled, his scales dull with shame. Ambassador, I owe you an apology. We mistook your restraint for weakness. We mocked your calls for peace. We were fools. Jiwoo smiled gently. You weren't fools, Commander. You simply didn't understand. How could you? Your species has known war, but you've never known the kind of war we've experienced. What do you mean? Every tactic we used against the Kroth, we first used against ourselves. Every strategy, every weapon, every psychological operation. We perfected them in conflicts where both sides were human. Where both sides knew all the same tricks. The galaxy's wars are fought between different species with different thinking. Our wars were fought between people who thought exactly alike. That made them far more terrible. The session began. Vextar addressed the council with unusual humility. The war is over thanks to humanity's intervention. The council proposes that human military advisors help restructure our defense forces. We have much to learn. Jiwoo stood. The coalition may use our military advisors, but we have conditions. For every military advisor, you must also accept a diplomatic advisor. For every weapon system we share, you must create a new peace treaty. For every battle strategy we teach, you must learn a conflict resolution method. Why? Asked the Chitin Queen. Because weapons without wisdom lead to catastrophe. We learned that lesson the hard way. We nearly destroyed our own world 3 times before we figured it out. We won't help you become better at war unless you also become better at peace. The council agreed. 1 year later, Jiwoo visited the new Terran military academy on Earth's moon. Alien officers now trained alongside human cadets. She watched a class where a Vrek student questioned his human instructor, a colonel named Jae-hyun. Instructor, why does the academy motto say, "Those who forget the lessons of war are doomed to repeat them. Those who remember become peacemakers"? Shouldn't warriors remember war to fight better? Jae-hyun smiled. No, cadet. Warriors who remember war understand its true cost. They've seen friends die. They've watched cities burn. They've counted the orphans and widows. Those memories don't make you fight better. They make you fight smarter. And fighting smarter means knowing when not to fight at all. Later, Jiwoo stood in the observation deck looking down at Earth. Admiral Sungmin joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. Do you think they understand now? He asked, handing her a cup. They understand we can fight, Jiwoo replied. But do they understand why we choose not to? That's the real question. The Kroth understood. That's why they surrendered. The Kroth understood we could destroy them. That's fear, not wisdom. True understanding comes when they realize that our strength isn't in our weapons or our tactics. It's in our choice to use those things as rarely as possible. Sungmin sipped his coffee. Some species will never learn that lesson. I know. And that worries me. Because if someone pushes us too far, if someone threatens Earth or commits atrocities we can't ignore, we might have to show the galaxy what unrestricted human warfare really looks like. She turned to face him. And after that, they won't just respect us. They'll fear us forever. Maybe that's not the worst outcome. Yes, it is, Jiwoo said firmly. Fear breeds resentment. Resentment breeds conflict. We didn't survive our own adolescence just to become the galaxy's next great threat. We survived by learning when not to use our strength. I just hope the galaxy learns that lesson before someone forces us to teach it the hard way. Below them, Earth continued its slow rotation, peaceful and blue. A world that had known terrible wars and learned from them. A world that now hoped to teach others the same painful lessons without making them suffer the same terrible costs.